To the uninitiated, a rifle is simply a delivery system for lead. But for the operators of naval special warfare, the mission begins where standard ballistics fail. The surf zone. Imagine emerging from the freezing break of Coronado, or a submerged insertion off the Horn of Africa. Your weapon isn't just wet. The bore and operating system are completely flooded. In a standard infantry carbine, pulling the trigger at this exact moment invites disaster. Physics dictates that water is incompressible. When the expanding gases of a fired cartridge slam into a fluid-filled gas tube, the result is hydraulic lock, a catastrophic overpressure event that can bulge a barrel or shatter a bolt carrier group right next to the shooter's face. This reality is the primary filter for every piece of equipment we are about to discuss. What follows is not simply a list of firepower. It is a study in metallurgy and fluid dynamics designed to survive the harshest elements on Earth. This is the engineering behind the SEAL's search for an unfair advantage. For decades, the anchor-engraved slide of the Sig P226 was the hallmark of a SEAL. It was a masterpiece of Cold War engineering, modified with phosphate-coated internals, identifiable by their distinct greenish hue, specifically to prevent galvanic corrosion between the steel slide and aluminum frame in saltwater. But in the relentless pursuit of reliability, mechanical complexity is the enemy. The transition to the Glock 19 wasn't a surrender to plastic, it was a mathematical calculation. The venerable double-action/single action trigger mechanism of the P226 involves nearly 60 moving parts. A striker-fired Glock uses only 34. Fewer parts mean fewer failure points when dragged through sand and surf. Crucially, this shift introduced a subtle but vital innovation: maritime spring cups. In a standard striker assembly, water in the firing pin channel can act as a hydraulic buffer, slowing the pin enough to cause a light primer strike. The Navy's solution was simple yet brilliant: vented cups that allow water to flow past the striker, ensuring ignition even if the weapon is fired while submerged. This level of granular adaptation is the hallmark of NSWC Crane in Indiana. They don't just purchase commercial weaponry, they re-engineer it to bridge the gap between factory specs and the unforgiving reality of over-the-beach warfare. At the center of the SEAL rifle evolution lies a fierce engineering debate: direct impingement versus the gas piston. The controversy stems from a physics problem known as dwell time. In the popular Mk18, with its chopped 10.3-inch barrel, the gas port is drilled dangerously close to the muzzle. This leaves a microscopic window of time between the bullet passing the port and exiting the barrel, the dwell time needed to pressurize the system. To compensate, the gas port must be opened up, violently overgassing the action. This creates excessive bolt speeds, extractor failure, and parts breakage. Enter the HK416. Instead of piping hot, carbon-fouled gas directly back into the bolt carrier, the flaw of direct impingement, the 416 utilizes a short-stroke gas piston. When fired, gas strikes a solid operating rod, delivering a clean, physical impulse to cycle the action. Crucially for SEALs, this prevents the hydraulic lock we discussed earlier. Because there is no gas tube to fill with water, the weapon can be fired almost immediately after surfacing. But physics dictates lethality as well as reliability. For close quarters dominance, the MP7A1 abandons the heavy, slow 9mm round for the hypervelocity 4.6 by 30mm cartridge. This is a Spitzer projectile, aerodynamic and pointed. Unlike a pistol round that crushes tissue, the 4.6mm relies on velocity to penetrate, then immediately tumbles, creating a permanent wound cavity disproportionate to its tiny caliber. Its armor-piercing capability is rated against the CRESAT standard, punching through 20 layers of Kevlar, backed by 1.6mm of titanium at 200 meters. For the other end of the spectrum, the Mk13 Mod 7 represents the pinnacle of long-range precision. Moving away from the Remington 700 actions of the Mod 5, the Mod 7 is built on a custom Stiller precision action, mated to a match-grade Lilia barrel. To maximize this mechanical accuracy, it pairs with the Nightforce ATACR 5-25 x 56 optic, featuring the Horus Tremor 3 reticle. This milliradian grid allows snipers to make rapid, formula-free wind calls without touching their turrets, essential for engaging moving targets at distances exceeding 1,200 meters. In the sterile environment of a testing lab, engineering perfection is possible, but in the grit of a deployment, military grade is often just a euphemism for compromise. Every tactical advantage comes with a hidden penalty, and nowhere is this more apparent than in the maintenance logs of a SEAL team. Take the HK416, the weapon that supposedly solved the reliability issues of the M4. While the piston system keeps the bolt carrier cool and clean, it introduces a logistical headache that drives armorers crazy. To properly clean the piston rod and gas block, maintenance required after heavy use, the handguard rail often has to be removed. The moment you detach that rail, you lose the zero on your mounted infrared lasers, like the LA5. This means every deep clean requires a mandatory trip to the range to re-zero your night fighting capability. Ironically, the dirty direct impingement M4A1, with its fixed rail and non-removable gas tube, retains its laser zero indefinitely, proving that sometimes advanced isn't always better for the operator in the field. The same brutal calculus applies to machine guns. The M240B is legendary for its durability, a 27-pound beast with a receiver life of 100,000 rounds. It simply does not break. But for a SEAL moving fast in high-altitude terrain, 27 pounds is a liability. Enter the MK48. By shaving the weight down to a manageable 18 pounds, the MK48 allows a single operator to wield 7.62 NATO firepower with the mobility of a rifleman. The cost? The receiver life is slashed in half to just 50,000 rounds. The receiver walls are thinner, the stress is higher, and the weapon effectively burns itself out faster. Special Operations Command accepts this trade. They buy mobility with durability, treating machine guns as expendable items rather than heirlooms. Perhaps the most striking example of battlefield pragmatism is the pirate gun, the Vietnam-era M79 grenade launcher. While the modern M203 underslung launcher is convenient, it destroys the balance of a primary rifle and limits effective range to about 150 meters. SEALs, particularly in DevGru, dusted off the M79, chopped the barrel and stock, and mounted a modern reflex sight. This standalone pirate gun can drop a 40mm HEDP round accurately at 350 meters, more than double the range of the M203, without compromising the handling of their primary carbine. Finally, we see the MP7A1 finding a niche not as a primary assault weapon, but as a specialized tool for canine handlers. When controlling a Belgian Malinois with one hand, an operator cannot effectively wield a 14.5-inch rifle. The MP7, with its negligible recoil and high-capacity magazine, allows for accurate, lethal, one-handed fire, ensuring the handler can fight while their dog works. History is rarely a straight line. It is a pendulum. After nearly 2 decades of the gas piston's dominance in naval special warfare, we are witnessing a fascinating swing back to the origins of the platform: direct impingement. Recently, keen-eyed observers have spotted Noveske Gen 3 shorty uppers in the hands of DevGru operators. Why return to a system once deemed unreliable? The answer is weight and balance. The HK416, for all its reliability, is a heavy, front-heavy system due to the piston and operating rod. Modern manufacturing has closed the gap. With improvements in metallurgy and gas port tuning, high-end D1 rifles like the Noveske offer the reliability of a piston gun with the lightweight balance of the original Stoner design. This isn't a regression. It is the relentless optimization of the tool to the task. This philosophy of surgical application of violence is the enduring legacy of the Anchor. The P226 and the MK13 didn't just equip a unit, they shifted the entire military doctrine away from Vietnam-era suppression to the precision fire that defined the global war on terror. For the historian and collector, This lineage is written in the details. The unique UID labels on a receiver, the specific phosphate finish on a bolt carrier, the faint crane markings on a rail. These are the hieroglyphs of modern warfare. Ultimately, the SEAL Armory is not a static museum collection. It is a living, breathing evolution, forged in the fires of combat and cooled in the salt spray of the ocean. It stands as a testament to the engineers at Crane and the operators who trust their lives to the difference between a tool that works and a tool that wins.